Greetings, I'm Barrett and welcome to Meet Me at the Table. Today we're going to be digging into Lands of Evershade. We're going to be creating our characters in this particular video. If you haven't seen my unboxing to show you all the components, please check it out. I'll try to put a link to it in the description of this video. Sometimes I'm not the best at that, but you can hopefully find it on my channel if I totally forget to do that. After we do our players and create them all, we're going to move into the first act, which is Into the White Well, a starting Lands of Evershade adventure. We're going to dig into this. Now, of course, this is all a prototype, so everything you see here is subject to change, not only in what it looks like, but also how it mechanically will work. The books are, of course, going to look better than they do now, and all the components, like I said, are going to be subject to change, and the layout is probably going to remain very similar, but the component quality is going to be, of course, created in the true Awakened Realms production ability. And if you have not seen an Awakened Realms game, the production for Awakened Realms games is absolutely out of control. It is so good. So I'm excited to dig into this, create our players for this game, and we will be doing 2 players. We'll be creating 2 characters for this playthrough. So let's dig in. And if you're excited to see who is going to play Into the White Well, then I need you to meet me at the table. Before we begin creating our character, I do want you to know there are pre-generated characters, so if you just want to start the game from scratch and you don't care if you have a say in how everything is developed, you can grab one of these pre-generated characters and dig into Lands of Evershade. To create a character, the first thing we're going to need is our player boards. We have 2 here, one that's going to have all the different skills for ourselves, and then this is going to track all of our stats and items and abilities right here. We have all of our 12-siders, which is the main die you roll in this game, and we also have a set of role-playing dice as well that goes from 4 to 20 based on the normal assortment of role-playing game dice if you've seen them in action. If you haven't, you are going to be getting yourself a 10, 12, 10, or sorry, a 20, 12, 10, 4, 6, 8, and another 10, because those 2 can be rolled to make a 100-sider. Those are the set of dice you get, plus of course all the other 12-siders. You're also going to grab a bag that you're going to use as well as you play through the game. Next, we're going to choose our race: human, dwerg, elf, or Bolgrim. These are the 4 starting races for the prototype. The race that you choose is not only going to determine the starting attributes and actions, but it will also have an impact in the way other characters in the game world are going to react to us. You could roll a d8 to make this a random if you want to, but we're going to choose. I'm going to make an elf and a human. In the next few pages, it's going to talk about the human race in Evershade and how it interacts with other things and the history behind it. There's a couple pages of lore, but the more important thing we're going to be looking for is right down here. Here's where it will talk about what we need to know. So when it comes to story outcomes, human are the most like-minded allies in most, will have like-minded allies in most places, but other tribes may scorn them and see them as a threat. For the keywords for our human, we are just going to get the default human. Some of the other races will have different keywords associated with the race. Our attributes are all pretty much balanced. As you can see over here, there are 2 straight down the line. We'll take our character card, which have all the character cards, have no particular weak points, and I'll show you those momentarily. Let's go over to our board and set all of that up. Reading is one thing, but actually seeing it in action is probably another thing. Here I have placed our 4 attributes. These are tokens that are dual-sided. Again, all prototype material, so it may change going forward. This is our Divinium. It's a D4. We have a 6 movement, and we start with 6 hit points. I'm just going to track it with this purple cube. Again, what I'm using to denote certain things may not be exactly what I'm supposed to use, but I feel that you get the idea of kind of how this works. We're going to put all this stuff together. We'll move on to the rest of what we need to get for our human. Next, we have our early years, which is chapter 4. Again, you can roll a d12 to decide what you are, and we are going to roll the d12 for this one. This particular part of the character creation is an idea of what they spent most of their younger days doing. These are going to impact particular story moments. It will also determine your starting equipment and gear and may give you additional keywords going forward. So we're going to roll for our human and see what we get. My goal is to land right here. We'll see how that goes. I did. I got a 3. We're going to go with Covenant of the Moon Lady. We also get a set of abilities. Here is our combat insight. This is a support reaction, being able to roll a supporting roll of a die if we wish to use this for an ally. The next one is endurance. I can try to resist damage coming in based on my strength scores and how many successes I gain. Dodge is going to hopefully be able to dodge the entire attack, maybe, or prevent at least a lot of it. The next is our attack action. It is a range 1. Do notice here there are some of these are going to have squares around them. This denotes the range in which this is able to be used. The everything counted in range is orthogonal for these. So if this is an attack range 1, the 1 is only going to be the orthogonal positions adjacent to our characters. We're going to roll our strength and do some damage. The last one is our command. We can use our charisma 8. We get +1 die. And remember, I do have 2 charismas, and so there's a chance I might get this. I do get +1 die for this just from doing it. If I have a leadership tag, I'm able to gain even more dice to roll for this. For every success, you get to add a white token to the initiative bag, and the white tokens are what our characters are going to use when we go into combat. Now, we're not going to lay these out here. It tells me to stick these into my pouch, so I'm just going to place them right there, and we'll get to them later. Here's the information for the Covenant of the Moon Lady. It says here, an orphan of war or famine, you were taken by Luadia's nuns and given rudimentary, if stern, education. Once grown, you were launched into adult life with little wealth or support. So we're going to gain these keywords of rural, Luada, and lore. On top of that, we're going to gain the equipment Small Necklace of the Covenant as your only childhood memento, and you have next to no money. So it says here, to play an orphan from the Covenant of the Moon Lady, we're going to place the Covenant of the Moon Lady origin tile in your character board. And that is right here. We will slot that in shortly. And do notice it gives you the tags right on there, the keywords, so you do know them. You don't have to be flipping back to this book. They are readily available for you. On top of that, we are going to add the Luada's necklace to the pouch. We're going to gain a gold to our pouch, and then we're going to proceed to the next chapter. So as we create our character here, notice we have our human. I forgot to mention that we'd put our race tag in there. It's just human. But we do have our origin, so I'm going to slot in Covenant of the Moon Lady. And on top of that, we will take our necklace and put it into our pouch, and we'll also take 1 gold and place that into our pouch as well. The next thing we have to do is choose our profession. This, if you have played other role-playing games such as Dungeons & Dragons, this is going to be technically your class from what I understand. This particular choice here is going to really impact the game, giving you different advancement trees. They're also going to finish off all the actions and reactions you gain into your pouch and gives you some basic tools to your job. Now again, we can roll a d12 on here, and do know that from what I understand, there's going to be even more than the amount that you're seeing here in professions, origins, and races. So this is going to be an immense amount of options when it comes to creating your character. I'm going to choose this one because there's a couple I want to play that I think are going to be really fun. I want to try the Hunter, so we're going to play the Hunter for this particular character. Here's a little excerpt on the Hunter. Now, the 2 classes I'm probably going to pick in here, you should talk with your people to decide what you think would work well together. I have never played this before, so I don't know what works well together. We're going to give these a shot and see if they work together, and if not, well, we'll have a fun time anyway. It says here, the whole of Evershade is your home, from desolate wildlands to the dark alleys of forgotten towns. You're trained in tracking or avoiding the many strange creatures that inhabit the world since the breaking of the sun. And of course, a lot of the stuff that has to do with lore, there's a big chapter at the beginning of this book that talks about it, but I think we'll learn a little bit more about it as we play through the game. Right now, we have our keyword for vigilance. That's going to be one of our keywords. And then we have our advancement trees. As a hunter, I'll be able to pick marksman, advancement tree of my hunter will have the ability to have marksman and nature trees along with our primary hunter one. Here is a card just depicting a small little bit about how this works. These are going to be the way you advance, and when you reach certain milestones, you're going to be able to gain what is going with these particular advancements. So this is our primary one. We can advance up to 8 times on this. These are our 2 other secondary ones, marksman, which will be able to advance 4 times, and our nature, which you can advance another 4 times. Of course, we are going to take our placard and put our profession in. and that will slot in right here and has the keywords marksman, nature, and vigilance. I can keep this next to my player board so I have an idea of what I'm going to gain, but there's going to be a more in-depth version of this card inside the player's handbook. Now at this point, we have to also choose which two initial paths I want to take below. On top of all the other things that we're going to be advancing through, these are going to be something that helps us when we start our game. It says here that I can either be an archer or a tracker. The archer is going to give me an ability boost to my agility and give me a bow and dagger. The tracker is going to raise my intellect and give me a spear and reliable boots instead of the bow. This person is going to be able to obviously be able to track things and nothing is going to go unseen from them, where the archer is going to be just, I believe, a better attacker. I am going to go with the archer for this just to see how that works. Just like it said, we are going to take our agility and raise it to 3. We're going to give it +1. Then we're going to grab the bow and dagger tokens and place them into our pouch like that so they're ready to go. The only thing left to do is pick our character. It says to just choose a miniature that represents your character the best of your ability, or at least one that you think looks actually pretty cool. There aren't actual characters for particular people, because this is a very open game when it comes to creating characters. So the miniatures themselves are, again, you're just supposed to pick ones that work for you. Our next character we're going to create is going to be a Bolgrim. We're going to play one of these guys. These guys look pretty cool. We're going to play a Bolgrim. We're going to gain all the attributes and skills that this particular race has. We're going to figure out what its origin is, and then we're going to choose its class. The Bolgrim usually dwarf other races. It's usually about 8 feet tall, so definitely taller than me because I'm super short. The deal with the Bolgrims is they're tied to nature and Evershade, and deep spiritual may reveal things that would be invisible to others. However, the legacy of the Bolgrim wars and your threatening stature causes many to distrust you. So we're going to have our abilities here of wild and large. Our attributes is we're going to start with a higher strength score. We've got 3, but our agility is only 1, so it's not that great. Most of our actions and reactions are going to be standard, except we do have a clumsy dodge, but we do have exceptional endurance. So there is a little bit difference from the human already just from the initial choice of our race. We have set our character up with his 3 strength, 2 charisma and intelligence, and 1 agility. He does have 6 movement and a D4 for divinium. We get 8 hit points with this as opposed to 6 with our human. And we're going to gain the Bolgrim tile here that has wild and large. We'll put that into our race. On top of that, we do get the same kind of cards that our other character got. We have command, which I forgot to mention this about the command card. If you look at the front of it, once you use it, you're going to flip it over, and if you notice on the back here, it says do not refresh this card at the start of your activation. I have to pay a fate to refresh this card. Fate is a resource you're going to be gaining through the game that is going to allow you to reroll dice or perform other actions on cards. On top of that, the rest of them are all going to be pretty much the same. We have our same attack card, but we do have exceptional endurance this time, which means we're going to have an easier time reducing damage. But we have clumsy dodge, which is going to make it even harder for us to dodge, or it's going to dodge less from us as we go through. We have our crucial, we don't have crucial combat insight. I'm sorry, we only have combat insight, which is the same one our human has. But I do like the fact that as we go forward in the game, we may be able to upgrade some of these. And look at, I think it's kind of cool that even at the start, you're going to be different from your other characters as well. I'd be able to support with 2 dice as opposed to 1 if I had the crucial combat, but I don't. So we're, of course, just like the other character, we're going to stick all of that into, whoops, our pouch. If I can actually hit the pouch, it's a big pouch. I don't know how I miss it. There we go, just like that. All right, we have finished with, I can't even get all of them in there, it's right there. Okay, there we go. Got him in, first try. Now at this point, we will roll for our origin. If we do get the Covenant of the Moon Lady, I am going to roll again because I don't want 2 of the same. We've got 9, Arcane Academy. Here is our past. It says to ensure you have a good command over the modest amount of divinium in your veins, your parents enrolled you in one of the reputable academies of arcane arts. You mostly spent your young years making mischief with fellow students of your house, but you also learned a thing or two from ancient books. So I'm going to gain the keywords Cityborn, Arcane, and Investigation. The equipment is I am going to start with a tomb borrowed from the Academy's library and very little money. So we're going to place our origin tile, and we're going to gain both our grimoire, which is right here, our mystical grimoire, and a gold. So just like our other character, we'll place our origin right there and place the gold and this into the super big bag that I can't seem to hit, but I hit it that time. At this point, we now get to choose our profession, and for this particular character, I am going to be going with the paladin. As a paladin, I am a young member of the Moon Shield Order. You swore to protect the people of law of Evershade, just like Luada does, at any cost. With the strict knight's code binding your hands, you're not well suited to treacherous or dishonorable acts, but the same code makes people more likely to trust you and causes simple folk to see you as their savior. So I'm going to gain our little placard that's going to give me the keywords battle magic, warfare, and leadership. So that is, and of course we're going to gain our advancement card as well, which is going to have our primary and secondary advancement trees that we can use. Now it's kind of cool because as I level up 1, I'm going to gain guided smite and prayer battle or battle prayers if I go forward. So I think this is, I'm really excited to play this to see how different these characters are going to become. And just like our hunter, we have to choose 2 different paths. We can either choose the protector, which is going to increase our strength by 1. I will be able to put I'll put the paladin profession in there no matter what. But I get a hammer and shield token to my pouch, and I think that's about all the path of the protector is going to start with. The other option is I could be an arbiter, which is going to give me a boost to my charisma score and give me a you'll be on the side of Luada's amulet, and you pray to it. You're ready to face danger. I'm going to gain an amulet of protection and a sword, and get +1 to charisma. I think we're going to go with the protector. I kind of want to protect the archer, so we're going to grab both the hammer and the shield, and we'll take our placard and place it here in our professions. And like I said before, I will drop these right into our bag. And lastly, we'll find a miniature. Here's the miniature for this particular character. Now, I don't have to technically use this miniature. I could have used one that looked more like a paladin, but not the right race if I wanted to, but I think I'm going to stick with the race. I think it'll be absolutely cool. Now that we've completed our characters, we're now going to set them up for our adventure. The first thing we're going to do is, since we're starting at level 1 for this adventure, I'm filled up all of these XP area here, and we're going to place a cube right down here. As we gain experience points, this is going to go up, and when we get to a certain threshold, we're going to be able to remove that one part, bring this back down to 0, and then we can place that either into a secondary advancement slot or a primary advancement slot and gain the benefits of that advancement. On top of that, we're going to grab all of our equipment for our character. We have a hammer, a shield, and our grimoire. So our small items are going to fit into here, and then we're going to fit the other ones here. But if you notice on the back, there are numbers for each of our items, and those are going to be associated with extra abilities that we can do. So we're going to take our, we have a weapon here and a weapon here, our 2 hammer and shield. We have our small item, our grimoire. We're going to place that there. On top of that, I've filled up the hit points that we cannot go over, so you can't ever gain more than that. It's just a way of being able to track that you're not going past your maximum. But we do get 3 other skills for these. We get now block, which is from our shield, and then instead of that attack action we now have the smash action. That's right, it requires a hammer. It says it right here, and we're able to roll our strength and do damage ignoring armor, which would be awesome. Then on top of that, we also have the enhanced spell power, which we got from our mystical grimoire, which during a roll using a spell, I can roll 1 more die. Now, of course, we have to choose what we want in order to put into these certain slots here, and as we go forward, these are going to unlock even more options to us when we pass certain thresholds on our experience markers. Looking at our player board for our actions, we're only able to put 6 in there. So at this point, we can choose. One of them has to be an offensive action, and it's signified by this triangle here. If you notice, that is on the player board itself. It has to be a triangle there. So I can either put smash or attack. That's a no-brainer. We're putting smash there. Next, we have to put a defensive action up here, and it has to have this particular symbol on it, this like, what do you call them? Trapezoid, right? Is that what it is? It's been a long time since I've done geometry. It has to have this particular symbol there. It has to have that shape. So at this point, I'm going to put block up there so that is ready. Now, if you're noticing, there's different symbols over here on the cards, these stars and moons. Those are going to be used when determining certain things that the enemy may do, or maybe an ability that's out on the environment that is going to take place. So those are going to play a factor going forward, but for picking our stuff, it's not going to. Next, we have two offensive areas here that we can either put another offensive action or a support. The supports are all going to have these circles here. Those are going to be the support cards. So we have two more support cards. We do have two more defensive cards, and we have two more offensive kind of cards here. Another support, another offensive action. I'm not going to take attack. I don't think I'm going to need that, but I think this command might do well. I do like the enhanced spell. That might help one of our spells coming through. Actually, I don't think I have any spells, so we're not going to do that. I'm going to do combat insight. I could put exceptional endurance here, and clumsy dodge. I don't really think that this is going to help us. I've got block, and exceptional endurance would be, I think, enough for that. So we are going to put the enhanced spell power there. Who knows, that might help us in the future. But now we have this character all set to go. So now let's turn our attention to the hunter. But before we do, I am going to drop these two back into our pouch that we used for our paladin. I should say not used for our paladin. And I am going to place the 1 gold for our paladin into the inventory slot. Let's check out what we're going to do for our hunter now. She's going to gain the necklace, the bow, and the dagger, and on the back side there are different cards for each of those. We're going to slot our bow and our dagger right here, and then our small item, we're going to slot our necklace right there. That's going to give us 3 more actions or cards that we're going to be able to gain. Now I'm going to put my gold piece there, and let's decide what we're going to do for our character here. First off, we have to choose an offensive action that we can do. I have my shoot and I have stab. Now, if you notice, stab is only adjacent and shoot is anything that's not adjacent. So I think I am going to slot both of our offensive actions into our board. Over in our defensive action, I am going to slot our dodge card for this particular character because it's built on agility and she has a lot of it. I'm going to also place our Luada's protection in there as well for a defensive reaction. And for my last 2 cards, I'm going to slot in Command Insight, and I'm going to slot in Endurance. The only reason I'm slotting in Endurance is because there might be a point where I can't dodge, and I do want at least one way to be able to try to prevent damage from coming in. I'm going to put our Command card and our Attack card back into our pouch. We're not going to need that. Now, I've been using this pouch right here to signify that, but I do have a tuck box that I'm supposed to be putting these in. It's just easier to, it would have just been easier to show me putting them into a pouch, but we have that right there for this particular prototype. This game does come with a player aid, so each player is going to grab a player aid for the game, which is going to go over not only combat overview, but also the glossary and how fate works in this game, and gives you an idea of some of the basic actions. And we'll go over a lot of that when we actually start our playthrough. Before wrapping up this particular video, I do want to show off a few of the other races and classes and things so you can see the difference in how they all start out before we begin our adventure. If you play as the Druid, this one is going to be gaining a small and subterranean tags, along with the fact that it's very strong but isn't very good at charisma. On top of this, it is going to gain 4 divinium, and it also has 8 hit points and has a pitiful command, but it has exceptional endurance for the start of its abilities. Playing as an elf, you're going to gain the Eldar and the Subterranean tag. You're going to have a crucial combat insight, which we kind of saw the card for that already, but you're going to get limited endurance, or it has 6 movement, but only is going to have 6 hit points, and it's not very good at strength, but is very good at intelligence. Seeing the Paladin and the Hunter class in action, or profession, I should say, here are a couple of the other professions that are in the game. There is Druid, where you're going to gain survival and have the ability to gain battle magic and nature. Now remember, nature and battle magic are actually found on the Paladin and our Hunter's cards. So the secondary ones are ones that are going to cross over into other characters, but the primary one for Druid is going to be one specific for this profession. The final class we have access to in the prototype is a fighter that is going to give you intimidation and also give you close combat and warfare as secondary abilities that you can learn along with the fighter class. Two other classes that will be coming in Dawn of Evershade. From what I understand, there are at least a couple other classes or professions, I apologize, that we haven't seen yet. One being Barbarian, the other one being Mage. I don't have access to those, but I believe those are two of the ones that are going to be coming with this. Because this prototype does say other professions, the final version of the Player's Handbook will include more professions. Not only that, this book is going to be over 200 pages long. And just a glimpse at some of the stuff, we're going to have a traveler's guide. There's a section in the back of the prototype book that gives me a lot of lore that has to go around with this. The geography, the Weeping Heart. We also have the Midlands. We can read a little bit about each of these different areas, the Rhinelands and the Grain Ring. We also have the Forlorn Sea, the Durisea, and then we also have Phalanx and Beyond, which is going to have a glimpse into some of that, the world below, and of course all of these I believe will be expanded on, because this one says this content is not yet available. We do have Religions and Pantheons of Evershade. There are all different types of the, here's that Luada, here's one of the mythology and the lore that goes along with that particular deity that we actually have an amulet for, which, so that's kind of cool. And there's a whole bunch of these in here. There's up to at least 7 going over here. There's up to 9. They even have like the nameless elsewhere gods. There's also elsewhere gods that we potentially could run into. Other pantheons are also not available yet. There's, I mean, just so much. There's a bestiarity is not yet available. All this stuff is going to come into effect inside of this Player's Handbook. So this is going to be an enormous book that's going to have a lot of wealth of information for you. Here's the codex that goes along with this that'll explain different things that are referred to in the story. You can refer to these here to be able to find out what exactly those are. So if we had to learn, well, if something talks about a moon shield, we could read about it here to learn a little bit more about that. And of course we have the credits for the game. And this is just the Player's Handbook. And that's the cool thing about this game, is they're kind of building it to be more of a board game with an RPG element, and a very strong RPG element. I'm really excited for this. Let's dig into the adventure in the next video and see how it goes. We have our 2 characters, our Hunter and our Paladin, and we are going to see what they can do in the lands of Evershade. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this quick video about how to create characters and what to look forward to for the Player's Handbook. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell symbol so you know when the playthrough for Lands of Evershade hits the channel. Also, feel free to leave anything in the comments below. I would love to hear from everyone. What do you think of this? Do you think I picked some pretty good characters? Or you think we're probably not going to do too well? We'll find out. I'm pretty excited to see how these characters work together. It'll be pretty awesome. If you're interested in supporting the channel, the link to the Patreon is located in the description of this video. The Patreon supporters that have joined us are located here on the screen. Thank you so much for your patronage. It does mean the world to me. Our Patreon supporters do get early access to my and Colin's playthrough videos, usually about a day or 2 ahead of time without commercial interruptions. On top of that, when it comes to creating characters and things for our games that we are doing, we do give our Patreon supporters a chance to decide who is going to play in these games. And if we ever have to level our characters up, we turn to them for some ideas as how to expand our characters and to, I guess you could say, level up our characters and which skills to pick going forward. So there you have it. That is the player creation of Lands of Evershade. If you're excited to see Into the White Well coming up soon, or of course anything else that Colin and I have coming up, then I need you to meet me at the table.